Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, your absolute go-to destination for everything Golden State Warriors, where I deliver the most up-to-date news, the deepest insider analysis, and all the exclusive rumors surrounding our beloved franchise. Today I've got something that's going to shake you to your core, something that's been brewing behind closed doors, something that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of this entire season, and potentially the next several years of Warriors basketball. This is the kind of information that separates the casual observers from the true Warriors, faithful who understand the complex dynamics of NBA roster construction and the difficult decisions that championship organizations have to make. So I need you to stay locked in with me through every single minute of this video, because what I'm about to reveal is absolutely critical for understanding where we're headed as a franchise. Alright, Warriors family, before we dive into the main story, I want to set the stage properly because context matters tremendously. When we're talking about roster decisions, trade scenarios, and the future direction of this organization, we're currently in a fascinating position as a franchise. We've got championship pedigree, we've got legendary players who've delivered multiple titles, we've got a front office led by Bob Myers and Mike Dunleavy that has proven time and time again that they know how to build winning rosters. But we're also at a crossroads. A pivotal moment where decisions made right now will determine whether we can extend our championship window or whether we're heading into a rebuilding phase sooner than any of us want to admit. Let me take you back to the beginning of this season. There was optimism, there was excitement, there was genuine belief that we could make another deep playoff run and compete for banner number 5. We had our core veterans still performing at high levels. We had young talent that was supposed to be taking the next step. We had a roster that on paper looked capable of making noise in the Western Conference. But as we all know, what looks good on paper doesn't always translate to success on the court. The season has had its ups and downs. We've seen flashes of brilliance mixed with stretches of inconsistency, and throughout it all, questions have been swirling about the future composition of this roster. One of the most intriguing storylines that's been developing, one that hasn't gotten as much attention as it probably should have until very recently, involves a young player who was supposed to be a cornerstone of our future. I'm talking about someone who was drafted with high expectations, someone who showed incredible athletic ability and potential, someone who we all believed would develop into a star. Alongside our veteran core, this player has had moments of absolute brilliance, games where you can see the superstar potential just waiting to burst through. But there have also been stretches of frustration, times when the development hasn't progressed as quickly as hoped. Moments when questions arose about fit and about whether this player's timeline aligns with the championship aspiration of our veteran leaders. Now, here's where things get really interesting. And this is where I need you to pay extremely close attention because we're entering territory that most fans aren't aware of yet. Information that's been circulating in NBA front offices but hasn't fully broken into mainstream consciousness. There are two teams in particular, two franchises that have been doing their homework, making their calls, exploring their options, and positioning themselves to potentially make a significant move. These aren't just random teams throwing out feelers. These are organizations with specific needs, with assets to offer, with front offices that believe they're one piece away from elevating their status in the Western Conference hierarchy. The first team I'm referring to is the Sacramento Kings. Now, Sacramento has been one of the most interesting stories in the NBA over the past couple of years. They broke their playoff drought. They've got an exciting young core led by De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. They play an entertaining brand of basketball, and they've established themselves as a team that's no longer a pushover, but isn't quite in that elite tier yet. The Kings front office, led by Monty McNair, has been aggressive in trying to find ways to push this team into legitimate contention. They have shown they're not afraid to make moves. They're not content with just being a playoff team. They want to be a championship contender. And to get there, they believe they need to add another dynamic piece, another player who can provide scoring punch, defensive versatility, and the kind of athletic impact that can change games. The second team that's been doing their due diligence, that's been making inquiries, that's been positioning themselves for a potential move is the Phoenix Suns. Now, Phoenix is in a completely different situation than Sacramento. The Suns have gone all in on their championship window with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal forming a super team that's supposed to be competing for titles right now. But as we've seen, simply having star power doesn't guarantee success. The Suns have dealt with injuries, they've struggled with depth, they've had chemistry issues, and there's a growing sense within their organization that they need to make adjustments, that they need to find ways to maximize this championship window before it closes. They're looking for players who can provide energy, athleticism, defensive versatility, and scoring punch off the bench or even in starting roles depending on matchups. So what do these two teams have in common? What's the connection that brings Sacramento and Phoenix into the same conversation? What's the player that both franchises have identified as a potential target who could address their specific needs and elevate their championship aspiration? I'm talking about Jonathan Kuminga, folks. That's right, our young forward who's been such a polarizing figure in Warriors discourse over the past couple of seasons. Kuminga, the 7th overall pick in the 2021 draft, the athletic specimen with incredible physical tools, the player who's shown flashes of brilliance but hasn't quite put it all together consistently, enough to become the star we all hoped he would be. Now, before everyone starts panicking, before the comments section explodes with anger and frustration, before people start questioning why we would even consider moving a young talented player like Kuminga, I want you to hear me out completely. I want you to understand the full context of what's happening, why these conversations are taking place, and what it could mean for the future of our franchise. Because this isn't about giving up on Kuminga. This isn't about admitting failure. This isn't about making a rash decision. This is about the Warriors front office doing their job, which is to constantly evaluate the roster, to listen to offers, to understand market value, and to make decisions that give us the best chance to win championships both now and in the future. Let's talk about Kuminga's situation specifically. He's averaging solid numbers this season. He's shown improvement in certain areas of his game, and there are definitely nights where you can see the potential just exploding off the screen. But there have also been questions about consistency, about basketball IQ, about whether he's developing quickly enough to help us win now while Steph Curry is still in his prime. And here's the difficult reality that the front office has to grapple with. Kuminga is going to be eligible for a contract extension soon, and based on his potential and his draft pedigree, he's going to command significant money. The question becomes, are we confident enough in his development trajectory to commit major financial resources to him, or would those resources be better allocated elsewhere? The Sacramento Kings see Kuminga as a player who could thrive in their system. They play at one of the fastest paces in the entire NBA. They prioritize athleticism and transition opportunities. They need someone who can defend multiple positions and provide scoring punch. Kuminga fits that profile perfectly. Imagine him running alongside De'Aaron Fox in transition, finishing lobs from Sabonis, using his athleticism to impact games on both ends of the floor, without the pressure of being a primary option. Sacramento believes they could unlock something special with Kuminga, that he could be the missing piece that elevates them from playoff team to legitimate contender. Phoenix, on the other hand, sees Kuminga as a player who could provide the energy and athleticism they desperately need. The Suns are an older team. They lack the kind of explosive athletic presence that can change games defensively and in transition. Kuminga could be that guy for them. He could be the player who guards the opponent's best wing, who provides easy buckets in transition, who brings an intensity and physicality that complements their veteran stars. The Suns have assets they could offer, whether that's draft picks, young players, or potentially even more established pieces depending on how aggressive they want to be. So what would potential trade packages look like? Well, that's where things get complicated and where the Warriors front office has to do serious evaluation. From Sacramento, we could potentially be looking at a package that includes multiple first-round picks, a young player like Keon Ellis or Trey Lyles, and potentially salary filler to make the money work. The Kings have been stockpiling assets specifically for moments like this, for opportunities to add impact players who can help them take the next step. From Phoenix, a potential package might include draft capital, a player like Nasser Little or Ball, and again salary considerations to make everything work under the cap. But here's what makes this situation so fascinating from a Warriors perspective. And this is where Bob Myers and Mike Dunleavy have to earn their salaries as decision makers. What's the right move for our franchise? Do we trade Kuminga now while his value is still high, while teams believe in his potential, while we can get significant assets in return that could help us either retool around Steph or build for the future? Or do we hold on to Kuminga, continue developing him, hope that the light bulb fully clicks and he becomes the star we've been waiting for? There's no easy answer, folks. This is the kind of decision that keeps front office executives up at night. Let me give you my perspective on this. And I want to be very clear that this is informed speculation based on everything I'm seeing and hearing. But it's still ultimately my opinion. I think the Warriors are absolutely listening to offers for Kuminga. I think they're doing their due diligence. They're understanding what the market looks like. They're evaluating what kinds of packages they could get in return. But I don't think they're actively shopping him. I don't think they're desperate to move him. And I don't think they'll make a deal unless it significantly improves our championship odds, either now or in the near future. Here's what I think is really happening behind the scenes. The Warriors know that this season is critical for evaluating where we stand as a franchise. If we can make a deep playoff run, if Kuminga continues to develop and shows he can be a consistent contributor in high-pressure situations, then the decision becomes easy. You keep him. You extend him. You build around him as part of your future core. But if we struggle, if Kuminga's development stalls, if it becomes clear that our championship window with Steph is closing faster than we hoped, then you have to seriously consider whether moving Kuminga for assets that can help you retool makes sense. The Sacramento and Phoenix interest is real. Folks, these aren't just rumors being thrown out by agents trying to create leverage. These are legitimate conversations happening between front offices. Both the Kings and the Suns see Kuminga as a player who fits their timeline, who addresses specific needs, who could be a difference maker for their organizations. And from the Warriors' perspective, both teams have assets that could be attractive depending on what direction we want to go. If we trade with Sacramento and get multiple first-round picks, we're essentially betting on our ability to draft and develop the next generation of Warriors talent. We're saying that we believe in our scouting department, we believe in our player development system, and we think we can find the next Kuminga or potentially someone even better through the draft. If we trade with Phoenix and get a more established player plus picks, we're saying that we want to stay competitive now, that we believe we can still win with Steph, and that we're willing to sacrifice some long-term upside for immediate help. There's also a third option that I haven't mentioned yet, and it's the one that I personally am hoping happens. We keep Kuminga, we continue to develop him, we give him more opportunities to showcase his abilities, and we trust that the investment we've made in him over the past few years will pay off. Because here's the thing, Warriors Nation, Kuminga is still only 22 years old. He's younger than some players who just got drafted. He's got all the physical tools you could ever want. He's shown flashes of being able to score at all three levels, defend multiple positions, and impact winning. Yes, the consistency isn't there yet. Yes, there are frustrating moments. But how many times have we seen young players take that leap in years 3, 4, or 5 of their careers? How many times have we seen patience pay off with player development? Think about Jordan Poole's trajectory with us. He struggled mightily his first couple of years. There were questions about whether he'd ever figure it out, and then suddenly everything clicked, and he became a key contributor on a championship team. Now, I'm not saying Kuminga is going to follow that exact same path, but the point is that player development isn't linear. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes the right coaching and the right opportunities. And maybe, just maybe, Kuminga is on the verge of that breakthrough that we've all been waiting for. Here's what I'm watching for over the next few weeks and months. I'm watching Kuminga's consistency, his decision-making, his impact in close games. I'm watching how opposing teams view him, whether they're game planning specifically to stop him or whether they're still treating him as a secondary concern. I'm watching the trade deadline rumors. Who's calling? What kinds of offers are being discussed? And I'm watching our front office, trying to read the tea leaves, trying to understand whether they're genuinely considering a move or whether they're simply doing their due diligence. While remaining committed to Kuminga long-term, the reality is that the NBA is a business, and sometimes difficult decisions have to be made. If the Warriors determine that trading Kuminga is the best move for the franchise, whether that's to Sacramento, to Phoenix, or to some other team entirely, then we have to trust that they're making that decision based on information and analysis that we don't have access to as fans. But at the same time, we're allowed to have opinions, we're allowed to question, we're allowed to hope that certain outcomes happen rather than others. My hope, Warriors family, is that we find a way to keep Kuminga and unlock his full potential. I believe in his talent, I believe in his work ethic, and I believe that with the right coaching and the right opportunities, he can become a star in this league. But I also understand that if the right offer comes along, if Sacramento or Phoenix puts together a package that's too good to refuse, then the front office has to seriously consider it. That's the nature of professional sports. That's the reality of roster construction in the modern NBA. What I can tell you with certainty is that these next few weeks are going to be absolutely critical. The trade deadline is approaching. Conversations are happening. Decisions are being made. Whether Kuminga stays or goes will have massive implications for the future of this franchise, for our championship aspiration, for how we're building around Steph Curry in what might be the final years of his prime. This is the kind of moment that defines eras, that separates good front offices from great ones, that determines whether franchises can sustain success over long periods of time. Now, Warriors Nation, I desperately want to hear from you on this. What's your take on the Kuminga situation? Do you think we should absolutely keep him and continue his development? Or are you open to trading him if the right offer comes from Sacramento or Phoenix? What kind of package would you need to see in return to feel good about a Kuminga trade? Do you believe he's on the verge of breaking out? Or do you think we've seen his ceiling? And looking at the bigger picture, how do you think the front office should be approaching this trade deadline given where we are as a franchise? Drop all your thoughts, your opinions, your hot takes in the comments below because I read every single one and I love engaging with this incredible community we've built. And listen up, Dub Nation, if you want to stay ahead of every breaking news story, every trade rumor, every insider report about the Golden State Warriors, you absolutely must subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell so you never miss a single upload. And give this video a massive thumbs up if you found this analysis valuable and insightful. Share this with every Warriors fan you know because we need to keep our community informed and engaged as we navigate these critical decisions. I'll be back very soon with more breaking news, more in-depth analysis, and more exclusive content that you won't find anywhere else. Let's go Warriors. Strength in numbers. I'll catch you in the next one.